Well, we've got someone we can orange pill right now.
Oh.
Because Danny's not here.
Yeah.
Because we tried to fit this in. Danny had to go back to Australia. Poor guy's been working so hard.
Mm.
So we have a on-site producer in today who doesn't know much about Bitcoin, and so I think through me, let's try and orange pill her, and we'll see what happens afterwards. So, you talked about how bad fiat money is. Tell our on-site producer today why it's so bad.
Yeah. Well, there's multiple reasons, right? For one, you don't make the rules. In fact, some unelected board of people and bureaucrats come up with the rules of that monetary system, and including the most important rule of how much money is there. And in fact, these guys don't even know exactly about the money that is in circulation.
It's a bit like ETH then.
Basically, yeah. And so you don't make the rules, and you cannot verify the rules, and which basically means these people can just print a bunch of money and increase the money supply and put it in their own pockets or the pockets of their friends. And inflation, the increase of the money supply, kicks off the Cantillon effect, which basically means that we move capital or wealth from those people who received to those people who received the newly printed money first. They get all the capital from those people who received the newly created money later. And that's that wealth transfer that happens whenever you print a single piece of currency. And it's an economic law there, and there's no way around it. And the crazy thing is, this is somewhat of a never-ending chain of theft. Right? So the higher up you're in that flow of newly created money, then from the more people you steal, right? If you're at the very top, you get all the capital, nobody's stealing from you, and you get some of the capital from everyone else. But then that person whom the first guy gives the money to, he's that second position now. He already got stolen from the person who received the money first. Right? So it's bad if you're not at the very top, you get stolen from, which means basically everyone is being stolen from. But the really, really shitty part is, you living in UK or somewhere in Europe or America, sure, you're not the very first to receive the money, but you're also not the very last. Right? There's millions, billions of people who want to get that money that was just printed, and who will eventually, after years, decades of the trickle-down effect, ultimately receive it. So this means that you and me, for every day we get paid in fiat currency, where we receive this newly created money, we were being stolen from a bunch of people, but we're stealing from even more people in the past. And then the real treachery of fiat is that it turns the everyday Joe, just when you want to earn money and spend it, but it tricks you into being a thief. And that's what makes this entire system corrupt and evil to the core.
Right. I'm going to hazard a guess that might have gone straight over your head a little bit. So I'm going to make you work a little bit harder on this one, Max. I'm going to make you work a little bit harder to explain this. So just so you know, fiat money is pounds, dollars, euros, so you know what that is. But I can imagine somebody who's listened to this the first time is thinking, what do you want about? My bank account has got the same money as in last week. I'm not being stolen from. What do you mean? Can you, in the most simple terms possible, explain to me how my pounds are being stolen from me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about the relative ratio of the total money supply to how much you have.
Okay.
Think of it, there's a big cake on the table, and you have a slice of it. And let's say that slice is 10% of the total cake. You have 10% of the money supply, let's say. And that's great, right? However, let's increase the money supply. Someone prints a bunch of money, right? And you're not the one getting it. Right? The guy who printed the money gets it first.
Who's printing? What are you on about printed money?
Well, whoever is doing that.
You know about the government?
The central banks and governments, yes. It's a kind of intricate system of how exactly they print the money, but ultimately they just print the money, meaning, let's say the size of the cake gets bigger, but your slice stays the nominal same amount, right? You had £100 before, you have £100 after. Didn't seem like anything changed much, right? But the cake got bigger, and you have a much smaller percentage point of that now. Instead of, let's say, 10%, you only have 5%.
But, I've been going for 44 years, Max. I've not really noticed the difference.
I don't know. I think you do. Right? There's this concept of the seen and the unseen.
Okay.
And sure, we could think, hey, look, we have all these magic, microphones, cameras, all these new cool technologies. This is great, right? We're super wealthy. Well, yeah, sure, but how wealthy would we have been if we wouldn't have stolen from each other all the time? Right? How much more capital could we have amassed? How much more technologies could we have built if we just wouldn't steal from each other all the time?
Well, I did notice this morning after I got up this morning, I wanted a coffee. I went into this bakery and they had these nice looking cookies. And she's like, do you want a box of cookies? I was like, yeah, I'm going to take these back to my kids and back to my dad. So I bought a box of cookies.
Yeah.
It was £25
Yeah.
for a box of 6 fucking cookies. So things are getting more expensive, but and that's more of a flippant joke. But what it was reported this week is that grocery inflation in the UK hit 17.1%. Now, listen, there's multiple factors that come into this. Yeah, there is a war, and we do know there is issues with transportation of certain food stocks. We know there's issues with the energy sector and the cost of producing food in the UK. We can't put that all on the money printing, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the money printing is definitely that root cause that we can clearly identify. Because so once you print money, again, right, we shift capital from some people, or from the vast majority of people, to those people who receive the newly created money first. Now those people that receive the money are a lot richer, meaning they're going to invest into more things now, right? If you have more money, you're going to do more with it, right?
All right, let's go back a step. Let's make this even easier to understand. This is the Cantillon effect you were talking about. Okay, how do you mean? Literally talk me through the steps of the people printing the money that goes to the richer people. How does that happen? Like, firstly, why is the government printing the money? And how is it getting into the hands of the richest first?
Well, how they're printing the money is literally like a printer. You know, the physical bills that you have.
Yeah,
that's the base money. That's the ultimate money, like on the Bitcoin blockchain, like physical gold. That's kind of the same thing, right? And the base money has 2 components. So it's the physical cash that's literally being printed, and then you have the central bank reserves. And this is basically a promise of the central bank that they will print the cash in the future. Right? So, and this promise to print the cash is as good as the cash. Right? Both of these things are part of the base money supply of the fiat system. And not just do they inflate by actually printing more, they also inflate by promising more that they're going to print more in the future. Right? And that's especially been during COVID. Sure, the physical base money supply has increased, but the digital component that promised to print more, that has just skyrocketed like crazy. And then to whom does this go to? Well, of course, first of all, the government. Right? That's how the government finances all of its debt, is just by receiving that literally newly printed money, as well as, for example, huge corporates. That's what bailouts are ultimately. Right? The Fed or the central bank prints a bunch of money and then gives the bailout to the banks who who are in a bad shape, for example, or it can also go to the individual. Person living. I think here in the UK, you got from the government some subsidy for the gas, right?
Depending who you are. I mean, I think they did one for. They're doing them actually for companies right now. I think they just announced today they're going to have to extend it because the gas and electricity price is so high that a lot of companies, like I talked about bakeries or cafes may have to close down because they can't afford to heat their property. Told you last night, I'm in the process of buying a bar right now. And I've seen the management accounts, but I've also seen the most recent gas and electricity bills. They've gone up 300% in the last few months. I mean, these are big cost increases for certain companies.
Yeah. So let's dive deeper on why that actually happened, right? Because it's not just. So first they printed a bunch of money, so a lot of capital got moved from everyone to those who received the money first. That's the first kind of wealth redistribution, and that's already bad because all of a sudden now you're poorer, right? Which means you have to struggle more to do your things. However, then these people who just received all of the money, they're going to start investing it now much more than they otherwise would have, right? And so we invest in projects that get worse and worse and worse. Right? Because the first time you receive money, you're going to invest it in the best project that you get, right? The highest return on your investment, you're going to put your money there. The next unit of money that you have, well, naturally, you can no longer put it into the best because you've just done that, right? You've already invested in that one project. So naturally, you will have to invest in the second best and then the third best. And with every additional dollar, you're going to invest in marginally worse investment goods. right? So we are basically investing in things that we don't really need that much, so to say, right? Instead of just focusing our limited capital on just the creme de la creme of investments, we spray it everywhere. Everyone's investing in everything, and this basically means we use up a lot of resources to build up these production stages, and we tend to make these production stages even more roundabout. And instead of having a very simple process to produce something, because we are so rich, we can make it fancy. We can introduce robots and lasers and whatnot to make the production, a bit more complex. Sure, we get something out of it.
But hold on. Surely you invest in robots and lasers to become more efficient, to become more productive, to deliver a better return on your investment.
Yes, exactly, right. But it just means that more capital is tied up in this specific process, right? So let's say you could produce a cookie or something by hand, and that takes an hour of your time or something, or you could build a robot with a bunch of rare metals and silicon and software and all that, and that takes a long time to produce the robot, who then in 30 minutes can produce the cookie instead of an
But what's wrong with that?
Well, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that we needed to invest a lot more capital in order to first build the robot, so that we then can do the cookie. And here it just means that more capital is being tied up, right? And all the capital that we spent on building that robot is gone now. We cannot use it for something else, to build a car or whatnot. Right, so that's the first stage. We have malinvestment. We build projects we don't really need, and we spend way more capital on them than we actually would need to, or than we otherwise would have. Let's say it like that. The second thing is overconsumption. Right, so because all of a sudden you have a bunch of new money, you're gonna buy six box of 6 cookies, because
6 boxes. I've overconsumed for the last few years.
Right? And so this basically means we have a limited amount of resources, but because we think that we're super rich, because I just got a new money printed to me, I'm rich, so I can now consume on the stuff that I otherwise would not have consumed. And now you see this comes from 2 levels. For one, we invest much more capital into investments, right? So that a lot of capital goes there. And simultaneously, we consume a lot more, right? Which means we reduce the capital that we have, right? We eat the food and then it's gone. And this is a mismatch, right? We spend a bunch of money on investing new things, but which means we think that in the future we're going to get that capital back. But right now it's gone. Right, we've pushed that capital, allocated it now, hoping that we get more back in the future. But simultaneously, we don't want to wait until the future to consume. We want to consume right now, right? And we are over-consuming right now. So not just did we lock up capital in these investments, we're also decreasing our capital stock right now, instead of waiting for the profit that we have in the future. And that's a level of poverty. And that's why you see prices go up, ultimately, because the resources that we want to have, we've already invested them somewhere else, and we've already consumed most of them. So there's literally not enough fuel left to heat the country.
So are you against any idea of a central bank then?
I'm against any idea of theft. And I think that you could probably build a central bank that doesn't steal and that doesn't inflate. It's just very, I guess, unlikely, because once you have the power to inflate, you're probably going to use it. And if we define the central bank as that entity that can inflate the money legally, most likely you're going to do it.